In about 5 seconds. All right. Dave Grady, Township Manager.
A huge congrats to the team, and I'm going to hold this up and read because I can't remember them all. So the accomplishments in the 2023 season: Central League champions, District 1 champions, first state win in school history, and state championship runner-up. So really awesome. I'm going to call up Coach Philly to say a couple words about the team. And as you're making your way up, I will say, my son has gone to your camp every year, and his Coach Philly Award is a prized possession in our house. So you're a celebrity. Come on up.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate having us out tonight. Obviously we had a very successful season, 22-5, which is actually the most wins in school history as well. Our goals every year are to win a Central League championship, win a district championship, and ultimately a state championship. I understand these goals are very lofty, but our staff feels like we have outstanding players, outstanding students, but most importantly, we have outstanding people in this program. This also comes from the outstanding parental support that we have. We have some parents here tonight, but that's all the way through the program. We have some great parents that really support our program as well. We didn't accomplish all 3 of our goals this year, but to accomplish 2 of those 3 goals is hard enough. We did a tremendous job this year where we won the Central League championship, like you stated. We won the district championship as well. This is 2 out of the last 3 years. And we are the state runner-up this year. I'm blessed to have an amazing coaching staff, starting with the freshman team, which we just started this year. We have a freshman team. It's our first year this year, which is Chris High School, who's also a teacher at the high school as well. We have the JV coaching staff in Eric Hollingsworth and Pat Keaveney. And also, of course, our varsity level coaches, David Splain and Bill Kane, who are also here tonight. Midway through the year, we realized that we had something special with this team. It was one of those years where we had outstanding pitching, we had outstanding defense, and we kept telling ourselves, as we kept telling the team, we also talked as coaching staff, that if we could somehow get the offense going this year, that we could really do something special, and we obviously did that by showing that we hit 240 during the regular season this year, and then once the playoffs started, we hit 375 as a team for the rest of the season, which is an amazing feat, and that's one of the reasons why we got as far as we did. As a coaching staff, we are most proud of the fact that we actually built a team this year. We could tell that by it meant just as much to the people who played every day, to the role players as well. And when you can see that as a coach, that it means just as much from person number 1 to person number 18. That shows that we actually built the team as a coaching staff, and that's one thing we're most proud of. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I told the players after the game, after our tough loss. I told them to keep their heads up. We accomplished something that no other team in Strath Haven history has accomplished. I told them that I love them, which I do. I love each and every one of these players. And then this team has a special place in my heart. And let's meet some of these guys that are here tonight. I'm going to go through the entire roster, whether they're present or not tonight, just because I want them to be able to hear their name mentioned. We actually have some players that are currently just coming back from playing in big tournaments in Boston. We have players that are currently up in Boston playing. We have players that are getting ready to go down to Georgia as well. We have some players that are working. So shows the dedication that they have, that they're still playing in the summer after a long high school baseball season, just to get better for next year. Number 1, we have Alex Pock, You want to have these guys come up, or you want to stand behind me? Maybe you can get yourself on TV. Ben Milligan. We have graduating senior also Bobby Fuskus, who's not here tonight, but he was a big part of our program for the last 4 years. Chris Coughlin. Eli Price. Jack Edwards. Jack Schuster. Jake Kudrick. Jake McDonough. Joe Natal. Luke Dancona. Matt Kane. Matt Caputo. Nick Corritor. Noah Green. Sam Milligan. Sam's actually going to be a college football player. He's actually up at Bucknell now. He already left to go up to school for the next few weeks. So Will Thompson. And Zane Malarkey. Now, one last thing I want to say is that, it was since we got back from the state championship, I didn't realize when you're actually in the middle of coaching a game, what we did for the community. For example, the stories that I heard, we had a 10-year-old team that had all the parents and the moms and dads there in one house, and all these kids were there, and they were all watching the state championship game. So there's stories that I heard of that, and the kids were cheering for us. And again, I got to see those kids at our camp a few weeks ago that many of these guys worked. We had Spring Haven Country Club down the road that apparently had 75 people in their cabana all watching the game on the TV. So the fact that, we didn't realize that when we're in the middle of a game playing, but the fact that all these people in the community were in their homes with their kids watching the game was something special. So definitely something that we're never going to forget. But now that we got a taste of it, we want to get back there. So thank you.
It's a
We
huge
really appreciate it.
accomplishment. And awesome job, guys. And I have to say, I was at Spring Haven for a swim meet, and that is true. They were going crazy. You would have thought the Super Bowl was on. People were really going nuts.
We made sure that our commissioners meeting was on the local network, that it switched over to your baseball game. We figured there'd be a lot of angry people around town if they were watching us up here.
Yeah. Can we do a picture with everybody?
Absolutely.
Hmm?
Yeah, fine.
Oh, yes, I can do that. Important detail.
Charles, you're a baseball player.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you guys for coming. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we will get back to our agenda now on a much more somber note. Tonight we want to recognize Darryl Dixon. He passed away about a week ago. He was an absolutely treasured employee in the township for many, many years and a treasured friend. And I know a lot of us are just in absolute disbelief that he's gone. There's going to be a service for him July 22nd at 11 a.m. at Sapovitz. I know he touched a lot of people in the community and here at the township building absolutely. And so please come recognize him and pay your respects to the family. Our thoughts go out to Darryl Jr., who's also a public works employee. And I know some other people here had wanted to say a little bit, so we can go to Dave first if you.
If any other commissioners want to say something? Go ahead.
Thanks. We got the shorter wires or something, either that or I'm shrinking, but anyway, so thank you, Dave. And I just wanted to start by just obviously passing along my condolences to Darryl and his entire family. I had the great privilege, just like I guess all of us, of getting to know and work with Darryl. And Darryl was just one of the, I guess I'll start by saying this too. Every time you speak about someone when they pass away, you always hear nice things. They were always the nicest, the greatest, the whatever. And, with Darryl, it was completely true. I mean, he was just the nicest, happiest, would do anything for you person that I probably ever met in my life. Every time I would see Darryl, he couldn't have been nicer, more friendly, happier, always with that little smile and grin and that laugh. I would always say about how, I would send an email to Darryl and, before I'd click send, he would have it done for me. He just did an amazing job. And, I don't want to get Darryl in trouble for saying this, but, every time I'd see Darryl, he'd always ask about me. He'd always ask about, how my election was going, or am I running again, or blah, blah, blah. And, Darryl would always, I could reach out to Darryl and say, hey, Darryl, there's I just, went to so-and-so's house last night, there's a pothole in front of their house. There's this, there's that, there's the other thing. And Darryl would just completely go out of his way to make sure that everything was done for me. He always wanted to see me succeed. He always wanted me to see me do well as a commissioner. And he did everything he could to help me to make that happen. And, there'll never be another Darryl. And I think the other thing here that's just so mind-blowingly sad and amazingly crazy is just, you just don't expect someone like Darryl to just not be here. And I never would have imagined, especially because I think one of the last messages we got from Dave was about how things seemed like they were picking up and he was doing better. And it didn't seem like there was anything to even think about, let alone worry about. And then all of a sudden, we get the news that we got, and it's just unbelievable. And I guess, we all get wrapped up in our lives. We're so busy and everything. And I think I always tell myself, try to take a moment, try to remember how lucky we are, how fortunate we are to wake up every day, to be with our spouses, our children, our friends, our families, whatever. Because we never know, when something will end. So anyway, I miss you, Darryl. I appreciate everything you did for me. I love you. You were a tremendous dude, and a local kid too, and my age pretty much too, which is just all the more mind-blowing. But anyway, like I said, miss you, Darryl. Love you, Darryl. We're so sorry you're gone, and your memory will live on, up here with us forever. So thank you.
You're gonna make us all cry. It's all true though. It was amazing.
That was really well said, Robert. I mean, Darryl was just such a genuine, salt of the earth guy. They don't really make guys like Darryl, they come across one in a million. I mean, I'm absolutely heartbroken and, you know, my heart goes out to his family and it's gonna be some big shoes to fill. It's really a void in the community and really a loss, to the township. We miss you, Darryl.
So I wrote something up, of course. So over the weekend, we lost our close friend in Darryl. We're all truly saddened by this. Going on without Darryl is going to be difficult. He was such a big part of our lives and our lives of so many in the community. He was, I think everyone knows this. He was one of the most genuinely nice people you could ever meet. He cared deeply about everyone, and we all knew that Darryl put everyone else above himself, sometimes to a fault. I mean, how many times do we have to tell Darryl, like, you know, worry about yourself? But that's just how Darryl was. He had such a big heart and he was such a good person. He was the best public works director around, but more importantly, he was a good father, husband, and friend. I'm going to miss seeing Darryl in the mornings and talking to him about work and life. I spoke with Darryl almost every day, like even on Saturdays and Sundays, we were often talking. I probably talked to him more than I talked to my wife sometimes. Sorry, Kate. Sorry, Felice. You know, if he had to call me about an issue, whatever it was, he was always like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to bother you," but I never minded because I knew that when Darryl was calling or coming into my office, I was going to be talking to a friend. There's no replacing Darryl, and we'll all be missing him. And whether you realize it or not, everywhere you look in the township has seen the benefits of Darryl. There's a reason he's the best public works director around. We're gonna miss you, Darryl.
Yes, I think we all need a moment of that.
Well said, Dave.
No, it really is just unbelievable and just, it's definitely hit home, I think, for a lot of us here. More than really sort of any passing that I've experienced, just because it was so unexpected and sudden and just unbelievable. So we will absolutely all miss Darryl every day. Let's move on so we can all get our voices back. Next on the agenda is public comment. There is no one here for public comment, so we'll move on to approval of the minutes. The minutes from June 15th, 2023 are in our packet. Does anyone have any comments on those? Okay, then I will make a motion to approve the Board of Commissioners minutes from the meeting dated June 15th, 2023. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Next is appointments to boards and commissions. There is a zoning hearing board opening. There is someone interested, and our good friend Commissioner Garrison is on it.
Follow up.
Yeah. So we're gonna work on that. Is there anything in the solicitor's report that's not otherwise on the agenda?
No, thank you.
Okay. Is there anything in the engineer's report not otherwise on the agenda?
No, I just want to just rest in peace, Darryl. That's all.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I moved on because I just need, do either of you guys want?
Good coming to the Atlantic port. So we got it. So it's approved, I guess.
The county demolition fund, they awarded a grant for the township to demolish the property at 702 Atlantic, where it says property's been a problem for a long time. It's a nuisance in the neighborhood, a safety hazard. We were very fortunate that the county was able to provide the funds for the demolition and site clearance of that. We're waiting for the contract for that grant to come in, and then I guess next month we'll ask for authorization to advertise for bids for that demolition and site clearance.
So then how does that work? Does the grant's gonna handle the demolition and then there's a lien on the land for back taxes and that's gonna go to
Well,
sale or?
The lien will be for the grant amount, the
Okay.
county's funds.
The county just fronts the money essentially?
Yeah, we file a lien for the money that the county fronted.
All right,
That lien will eventually get put to, I mean, it'll either get paid or it'll go to tax
are they
to a
taxable
foreclosure
if we do it?
sale.
We don't know.
They had been current on taxes when I looked at this a year ago. I don't know if that's the
I
case.
think
anymore.
they,
They no
they've
longer,
stopped,
they
yeah.
have stopped.
and with the liens, we'll put the lien in the name of the county for the actual demolition costs, any engineering or legal fees
For the
will be in the
township.
township's name. So,
Yeah,
which will be somewhat minimal compared to the
yeah.
demolition costs, but
So a couple months after demolition, this would probably go to sheriff's sale,
No, I mean, liens take longer than that. They take a couple years, actually. So,
but it'll be vacant property for.
yeah, but a vacant lot is better than an attractive nuisance and a hazard of collapse, so.
During the conversation with the county, we actually, County Commissioner Ruther had, and we kind of look at that, maybe a bigger picture problem. And what's gonna happen is, we're gonna demolish, this is a twin, we're gonna demolish half the twin, and more than likely, we're gonna be left with a vacant piece of property for eternity. It's just gonna sit there. So there was some, early discussions of how we can start to address some of those issues.
Well,
It's
and,
sort of right up against the park, isn't it?
I think there's one house.
One
between
house.
that.
and-
yeah, and the county land bank, one of the things they do is, assist you in getting a property like that and conveying it to the adjacent property owner. So they have an incentive to keep it, to, make their own yard bigger and to mow the grass and take it off of your hands.
Yeah.
So that's something we can pursue.
That makes sense. Okay, thank you. The first agenda is government relations with Commissioner Cooper. He is not here, so I'll take that in his absence. There's just one item on the agenda. It's the CDBG bids. They were received. We had requested additional county funding. So the bid received, I'm sorry, I need to back up on here. Dave, you need to help me. So we had gotten the bid, but then the bids we received for the work were much higher. And so we asked the county for the additional 42,000 to be able to do all the work. And the agenda item tonight is accepting the additional funding that they've approved.
yeah, we should be getting some paperwork for that additional funding, but we did award the bid to Moore Brothers Enterprises contingent upon getting the additional funding, which
Okay.
is what we received. So I don't believe that we need to do anything extra at this time.
Are we comfortable telling them to go forward, or we want to sign something with the county? What do you
Sorry,
think?
I'm
The
having
county
trouble
has,
hearing.
This is
the county
this-
approved it, the
yeah.
30-day comment period for the county to amend their action plan for community
Oh,
development block grant. Once that time expires, we'll get a letter from the county basically, notifying us that we were awarded the extra funding. The contracts for the work are here at the township for signature by the township. We can sign them, we'll hold them until we get the letter from the county, basically confirming that the money is available. And then we'll issue notice to proceed the contractor to start the work.
So we can tell the vendor that most likely we can start work in 30 days. Is that,
He is aware of that.
oh, he's aware
Yeah,
of that.
30 days is gonna be up,
Yeah,
beginning of August, I believe. Is that right, Bob? Right, next counts?
Yeah.
Last council meeting was the first week of July.
Okay.
Fifth of July, right?
So they'll pave those streets this summer then, or towards the end of the
That's,
summer?
yes, that's our anticipation.
okay, well, that's exciting. You can let, Katie could probably let your board know. Is everyone excited? Okay, so on to Parks and Open Space with Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner McKenzie. I have three items to discuss tonight. Good evening, everyone. The first is about the ongoing discussions of installing pickleball courts at the Creekside Swim Club. So the township has a meeting scheduled for August 14th to discuss the possibility of the township leasing the tennis courts from Creekside and rehabbing and converting the courts to pickleball courts. The Delco Dills have been involved in the discussions as well. This has been going on for a couple of months. So we'll see how that progresses. Any questions on that item before I move on? The second is a little bit more lengthy, and it has to do with recent discussions on Sapovitz Park. So we have a grant to do some work. It's a DCNR grant at Sapovitz. And there's about $30,000 left available from the grant funding. And so about a month ago, I met with two of the South Media neighborhood representatives at the park to discuss how we might be able to allocate those funds and might be useful for those who use the park often. We came away with three ideas. One was a new idea, which I thought was quite interesting, which is installing a softball field there. So decades ago, there was an adult softball league that played there, called the Invaders, and the field could pay tribute to that league if we did install one. And that league has a reunion each summer, I discovered. Unfortunately, after Charles Catania did some work on how much the cost would be to install the field, we have to worry about grading the area, dirt, dugouts, backstops, benches, et cetera, and also making it an ADA path to the dugouts. It seems as if it's going to exceed the available funding by quite a bit. There could be an opportunity to apply for a grant in 2024, which might be a better idea, and give us some more time to think through this project. So that was the first idea. We can talk about all of this in a minute. The second idea was to install a piece of play equipment at the existing playground. So for instance, it could be a zip line or other type of equipment on the field. And that would be within the budget that we have. And the third idea is to rehab the lower basketball court, which is adjacent to the field that we were actually looking at, and it could expand its usage. So Charles, our township engineer, is drawing up the estimate, and we think it should fit within $30,000 budget. Based on what I discussed with the leaders there that day, and the fact that the softball field could be kind of a good idea, but something we table for next year, I personally think the lower basketball court is the best use of this money. But I wanted to open it up for discussion amongst the commissioners.
I appreciate your time on this, and I'm glad we got some community input because we want to use this money in the best way, but this is sort of the allotted money to use there for now. And so it sounds like the softball field is unfortunately going to grossly exceed that right for now, because there are some requirements for the grant that will make the field a little bit more expensive than it would be if we waited for another grant that might be a little bit more appropriate. And so I was also leaning towards the basketball court. I think that that's sort of our basketball park. And, Dave had pointed out that the playground there is a little bit dated anyway. So it seems like we might actually want to think about doing some work at the playground in a couple years and focus on the basketball court for now.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of expanding the basketball court as well. I know there's been a league that's used the upper courts in the past, so if we can convert the lower court to a full court, maybe it gives some flexibility to the league, or possibly expansion of the league. I like the softball field idea as well, but I think that that's something we think through down the line 2024.
Anyone else?
No, and I know this grant's been outstanding for a while, so I think we do want to move forward on that. Right, Dave, should we vote on this tonight?
One thing that Township Manager Grady and I were talking about was if we wanted to make a motion to allocate the funds to the basketball court, do we want that to be contingent on approval from those that I spoke with, kind of the leaders in the community? We can do that, or we can go ahead and just allocate it towards that project.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I think we've got a lot of community input on this, and absolutely, I think we need to do what makes sense and want to hear from the residents. But we are getting down to the point where we need to move forward with this, with respect to the way the grant's structured. And I do think in some ways that's why we're elected. So I'm not really in favor of prolonging this any longer.
Great. So if we're okay, I'll make a motion. So I move to allocate this remaining $30,000 that's available within the DCNR grant towards rehabbing the lower basketball court at Sabbathitz Park. Second. I have a second. Any discussion, further discussion? I think we're okay. All those in favor? Say aye. Anyone opposed? Nay? I think we
I'm a
passed.
yes.
I know. I said if anybody's opposed, I think we're okay.
Oh, yeah. I thought you said Matt or you.
No, I said anyone. So I think this passes. Yeah, I think we passed this 5-0, so we're okay. All right. No, I did not hear that, Matt. You're okay. And then the last item that I had to do with Martha Burton Park. and some project bids. There were bids received for the materials for the Martha Burton Park project. It's a lot to say. There were two bids and the low bid was $46,000, which is just slightly over the available budget. Township engineer Charles Catania realized there's some a procedural step that we need to follow with the DCNR, the grant agency. But we should award the bid subject to the DCNR's review and approval of the bid documents. So do I need to make a motion on this? Or not? Do we wait?
I think you could make a motion to accept the bids contingent upon the DCNR's approval of the bid documents. You agree with that, Charles? Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'll make a motion to award the bid subject to the DCNR's review and approval of the bid documents. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? We're okay? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I think we passed 5-0. That's the, yeah, now I have a ice cream truck in the background.
Mhm.
Kind of took everything away from the seriousness of that topic.
Yeah.
That's-
Take a
That
5-minute
concludes
break.
my report.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
On to the Public Safety Committee report with Commissioner Garson.
No ice cream right now.
Mhm.
All right, the first item on my agenda is a stop sign request at the intersection of Ronaldson and Washington in South Media. The township had received a request for stop signs at that intersection. Our township engineer did a warrant analysis and determined that stop signs are warranted. So at this point, I'm going to move to advertise an ordinance for the installation of stop signs at the intersection of Ronaldson and Washington.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, that carries 5-0. Moving on, the long-awaited police memorandum of understanding with the Wallingford-Swarthmore School District. It is now, the memorandum is now ready for signing, according to the school district. So this evening, we can take action to approve the memorandum of understanding. I don't know if Chief Splain or Solicitor Scott, if you had to review that, if you're satisfied with it, I assume. We're good.
Agree.
All right. So, in the interest of moving forward, I will move to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Nether Province Township Police Department and the Wallingford-Swarthmore School District.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries 5-0. That's the end of my report. Thank you.
All right, thanks. On to Finance and Administration Committee report. First, we will do our bills list. First on our list are the interim bills that were paid, became due before our meeting. On page 1 of that list is the Delaware County Public School Healthcare Trust. That's the police department medical, our July premium payment. Also on that page, a little bit down, is our CPA services. I can never say, did you say Dunlap? So it's just, but the SLK is just stuck on the end because it looks like Dunlap silk when it's written like that.
I think she read it as one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Dunlap SLK.
Okay, that's very helpful because every month I'm like, this is the weirdest name. All right, so Dunlap services are the accounting services that we have been using in place of finance director, which I understand continues to work out well. And at the bottom of page 1, Unilogic, that's our annual maintenance fee for support. That's the database service that we use, right, for property management. And then on page 3, the last item on the AP interims bills list to point out is charge for traffic planning and design, and that related to the Avondale guardrail assessment. And that was for the replacement that we needed to do due to an accident. The guardrail there was not in great shape, but there was also an accident that destroyed some of it. So we replaced some and we'll recover some of that charge through insurance. So that's the interim bills list. Now the AP card. Got some Amazon charges here for summer camp, which I understand is going very well. Commissioner Barnes has a volunteer and a camper. They're loving it. good reports. On to not much to point out on this list. There's back to our sad topic, there's the charge for Olive Garden for employee support related to Darryl's passing. And then on page, they're not in alphabetical order, but it is on page 7, Rare Pacific Company, that's a charge for 100 recycling can lids. I know we get some of our cans through a grant, and I believe we just actually received one of those, but these are separate. Are people are losing their lids and we bought extra lids? Is that what's going on? Okay. So how long does 100 lids last us? A year or so? I'm just, I guess it doesn't really matter. I have not heard of people just losing the lid, but that's.
The lids are kind of flimsy, and crack and then break off.
All right, well, we've got replacement lids if anyone needs a lid. All right, and then the last list, the AP bills list. On page 1, we have, not on page 1, all 3Q. I don't know. Well, they're listing a bill that's not on the bills list, so I guess we don't even. Oh. All third quarter cell phone contribution reimbursements. I'm not reading the whole thing. So there's several line items in here for the different employees for their third quarter 3Q phone reimbursement. So now it is actually in alphabetical order. We will go to B&L disposal. That's our municipal recycling for June 2023. On page 2, charges related to Catania Engineering Services. Many of them relate to the different grants and projects we have. Many of the line items relate to the grants and different projects that we have going on in the township. Page 3, Chapman Auto. That's a relatively large charge for our 2023 Dodge Durango. That's police department car number 3, excuse me, which was replaced based on our vehicle replacement schedule that we approve every budget season. Do we have the car yet, Chief?
Backlog of orders to the upfit.
Gotcha.
Recommend the upfit will prepare to get ready to go back.
That sounds good. And then is this the car that we decided to give to our inspect, the code enforcement? This isn't the one that was.
Is this the one that I'm getting the red?
Okay.
That was like,
This is a truck, right?
yes, the Durango replaced the Dodge Charger, the Charger was available, and the truck, the first truck this year replaced a truck.
Okay.
So the truck for a truck, the Durango, truck.
Charger. Okay. Okay, so then lower on page 3 is the Delaware County Public Healthcare Trust. That's the police department medical line item for August. So we're only meeting once a month now. So we have the 2 charges. One was in the interim and then one in the AP bills. And the top of page 4, we have Divot, which is the medical and dental for July. On page 5, excuse me, LJ, I'm going to say the name wrong, Polello Construction, and that's related to the Public Works Garage renovation. I'm glad we're getting started on that. I'm looking forward to the work that's done there. Page 6, Pico traffic and street lights. Why is that a little bit high, Dave? That seems like, this isn't just the electricity that goes to it, or it is?
What was the?
This-
market?
This is, so it says the Pico traffic and street lights, but it's 5,000, which seems like we usually have.
That could be right.
Yeah.
It's-
Okay.
A lot of times it'll be like in the 4,000.
Okay.
Check and see if, forget the one.
If it's in the right range, but,
Yeah, it's relatively close.
Okay, then the last item to note is the tree state timber charge. That's on page 7, and that's for tree removal at 807 Pleasant Hill. And then is that a charge that we will seek reimbursement from the homeowner?
Yes, the property will be liened for that. That's something our code enforcement officer attempted several times, including citations, to get the hazard trees removed, and they didn't comply, so we had to do it, and we'll lien the property.
All right, thank you for that. So I will make a motion to approve the AP interim bills list in the amount of $46,648.93. The AP bills list in the amount of $306,459.57. And the AP card total in the amount of $34,819.75. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and that motion carries 5-0. Can move on to the approval of Providence Road right-of-way plan. So traffic planning and design, one of the vendors that we were just talking about in the bills list, has approved a right-of-way plan that's needed for the installation of the sidewalk. And the plan is ready for recording. So if you remember, we have funding to do the sidewalk on Providence Road, but there are some issues with the right of way in certain areas. So we've been trying to work through that using a vendor called Stantec to help us do that. And it sounds like at this point, we need to make a motion to approve Stantec to record the plans related to the what is it, just the installation of the sidewalk? Is anything else? in that?
It's the right-of-way acquisition.
Okay.
And it needs to be recorded because, and this is related to a subsequent item on the agenda, we're going to, in all likelihood, have to condemn 3 parcels. 2 because they have unknown owners and 1 because it's tied up in an estate and that's not responding to offers to buy it. And to do that, you need to record the plan first and then the pleadings refer to the plan.
So the plan will address all of the property.
Yeah, the plan addresses every property in this stretch, most of which we're negotiating purchase of the right of way. But for these 3 that we're not going to be able to purchase, this is being recorded so that I can then tie the pleadings to the recorded plan.
Okay.
These are the plans.
Oh my gosh, that's yikes. Okay, so I will make a motion to approve the Providence Road right-of-way plan. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries 5-0. Next on the agenda is the easement offerings. Is this relates to the same thing, but we
Yeah,
need to
it's-
approve some of
And I
the,
just kind of covered what I
Okay.
needed to say about
Okay.
it. So, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, next month I will have an ordinance before you to authorize condemning these 3 parcels.
so more to come on that. We're
Yeah.
working our way through each of the properties.
And while you're at it, why don't you have a motion to authorize advertising that ordinance now?
Okay. So I will make a motion to advertise the ordinance regarding the acquisition of right-of-way on Providence Road.
Yep.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries 5-0. And last, the Township Building Elevator Project. You might remember we put in a bid for a grant and we received it, and we put the work out to bid, and some of the bids were actually lower than we had expected. And so we had some contingencies in our scope of work, including, I think, the roof, right, and new windows in here, which are very badly needed. And so it sounds like we're going to be able to do all of that, which is really, really exciting. It will really help spruce up this building a ton. In addition to the elevator that's going in the vestibule with, make that ADA compliant and give easy access up to this second floor meeting room. And so I will make a motion to accept the bid. Am I approving just the total cost, Dave, or do I need to do?
I would accept the LJ Paolella bids,
Okay,
including the alternates, for a total of $452,275.
okay,
And then also the Higgins and Sons base and alternate of $7,000.
Okay, and they are the engineers? Or they're,
So Paolela is the general contractor, Higgins is the electrician,
Okay.
and Lynn Architects is doing the engineering for us.
do I need to accept their engineering fees too?
No, you already
Okay.
did that.
So I will make a motion to accept the bids from LJ Paolela in the, that's so the general contractor, low bid in the amount of $452,275. In addition to the Higgins and Son electric work, low bid in the amount of $7,000. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. And do we have any idea when they might start that, or we haven't had those discussions yet?
So since the bids have been accepted, Lynn Architects will start working with Paolela. There's an estimated 8 to 10 week lead time on purchasing the elevator itself. So they want to wait to start construction until the elevator is purchased. So that's really the only thing that's waiting. And I think this is great that the bids came in where they did,
Yeah.
because we're basically getting an elevator, a new roof, and all new windows for roughly $10,000.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. If anyone's checked out the windows in here lately, this is like it's seriously needed.
Will we need to move out of the perimeter level? Or let's work around.
I think we'll be okay.
We'll cross that
The
bridge. when we get there,
challenge
man.
is going to be the front door
Right.
during the construction, but we'll work through that.
Okay. That is all for my report, and on to community health and environment with Commissioner Barnes.
Thank you. We have movie nights going on. The first is Saturday, July 15th at 8 at Hepburn Park, and Toy Story is going to be shown. There's no cost to attend, and the second will be on August 12th at Sapovitz. Next, we have a recycling disposition. The township's contract with Republic Services is in its final year, and there are no remaining option years. The township will need to go out to bid for the recycling disposition, which is just the processing of the recycling and not the actual collection. So I guess I'll make a bid, or I'll make a motion to advertise for bids for the recycling disposition. Any comments or questions?
I just want one clarification. So I know when we do the recycling collection, there's many different ways to sort of structure that. Is the disposition, this is the one where it's became contingent based on current prices to some degree. Are there any other facets to it, or we're planning to just put out the bid for that same structure?
This one's fairly straightforward because it is just
Based on, like,
processing
tonnage or something?
the recycling. What's challenging is finding multiple bidders.
Yeah.
Like last time, we only had Republic, they were the only
Well, that's
bidder.
my question, because I know that we provided a lot of different alternatives. I thought maybe with collection, or maybe that was with the disposition. I know that not a lot of people were biting on that, but
Yes.
is there anything that you know of
There's
that we?
not a lot of people biting on either aspect of it, collection or processing. It's a
Okay.
very small,
So you think we're doing the
universe.
best we can with what we're,
yeah.
okay. That's it.
It's getting harder to get bids for hauling, labor shortages and other factors.
And just the overall market of where the recycling companies, or as they're processing the recyclables, like where they're selling them to, those markets aren't what they used to be. So it's become very expensive for them and a little bit risky.
Okay, if there's nothing else, everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? So passes 5-0. And that's the end of my report.
All right, thank you. On to infrastructure and public works with Commissioner O'Connor.
Thank you, Madam President, and good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. First item on my agenda this evening is need to appoint a new Public Works Director. So Mike McCall has expressed an interest, and if the board agrees to promote Mike, well, I guess I'll make a motion to appoint Mike McCall to be our new Public Works Director. Do I have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any comments, questions, or discussion?
I'll just say Dave's reported that, Mike's really stepped up and, been a great leader, this week with the guys, and we really appreciate that and, ready to move forward.
Yeah, Mike's a great guy. Mike's been here for a long time as well. He's a local guy too, and I know him well, and I think he'll do an excellent, I shouldn't say I think, I know he'll do an excellent job.
Yeah.
So, all right, with that said, if there's no other comments, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of appointing Mike McCall to be our new Public Works Director, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And looks like the motion carries unanimously 5-0. Thank you so much. The next item on my agenda here this evening is the Park Ridge Drive Sewer repair. Our engineer, Charles Catania, has obtained 3 proposals for the repair to the storm sewer on Park Ridge Drive. The low bid was in the amount of $14,965 from Battlefield Enterprises. Charles is satisfied with their work from dealing with them in the past on previous projects. So with that said, I will, I'll move to award the low bid to Battlefield Enterprises in the amount of $14,965. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments, questions, or discussion? Charles, we appreciate your help. With that said, hearing nothing, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please vote by saying aye.
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 And looks like the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next item on my agenda is the 902 grant award, leaf truck and recycling cans. As we all know, the township applied for funding from the DEP for a self-contained leaf truck and recycling cans. Township was awarded $314,911, which is 90% of the total cost of the project. A grant contract will be sent soon. No action is needed at this time, so this is just for your information. Any comments or questions?
I'll just note on that one that, Dave and I were speaking, and it sounds like this is gonna replace one of the leaf trailers, which we will be able to sell for probably a couple $1,000s. So at least, some portion of our match, will be met with that.
Yeah, which is great. So thanks for pointing that out. And moving along to the next item on my agenda is the next topic for discussion is the multimodal grant option. The DCED's Multimodal Transportation Fund grant opportunity is open. In discussions with our board president, Kate McKenzie, and our board vice president, Matt Garson, it seems like applying for the for West Rose Valley Road would be beyond the scope of the typical grant awarded for this type of program. With that said, other areas that we could consider could include the connection on Brookhaven Road between Providence Road and Kershaw, including the installation of overhead flashing beacons at the intersection. With that said, Charles is drawing up an estimate. There's no match required at this time. And just like the last item, this is informational, and certainly if there's any discussion, it's certainly open it up.
So Dave, we don't need to approve applying for that right now?
We do because the grant is due
Yeah, that's what
July
I'm worried about.
31st.
Okay, so
Um,
should we do something like,
Are you still working on that estimate, Charles? For
Providence.
yeah, where it ends? Halfway through, yeah.
Right.
we did not mention that thing.
What is it if we add what? I think that would be great to put that in there. I actually thought about that when we talked and it didn't come up, but yeah, I mean, it seems like, because then we're including like the whole school front and back, so I think that makes sense. I think we need a motion. Do we need a motion?
Yeah, we need a motion for that. And I think we should also keep West Rose Valley Road on the docket,
Yeah.
for future
No,
consideration.
absolutely. For
just-
anyone's listening, we are working to find an appropriate grant for the West Rose Valley Road work, but this grant, the work needed on West Rose Valley probably exceeds the amount that would be awarded in this grant, so it's not as appropriate
Is the motion then to accept the multimodal grant then basically, or is there any?
to apply for it.
Apply.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that said, if there's no further discussion, I would make a motion that we apply for the multimodal grant. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor, please vote by saying aye. Anyone opposed? It looks like the motion carries unanimously 5-0. Thank you again so much. And the last item on my agenda this evening is the not multimodal, but multi-municipal salt bid. So anyway, there are about 10 municipalities that share in the salt bid, and our manager is recommending that the township participate in the bid for two reasons. First, in the past, the salt pricing has been lower than what the township has obtained through the Co-Stars program. And second, if we go through the Co-Stars program, we have a minimum purchase amount, which of course can lead to excess stockpiles unless we have like one of those 1 in a million winters, which we haven't had lately. So anyway, with that said, I would make a motion to participate in the multi-municipal salt bid. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions, comments, or discussion? And hearing none, all in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? And it looks like the motion carries again unanimously 5-0. Thanks so much. And that concludes my report, Madam President. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The last is Building and Zoning Committee report with Commissioner Malloy, but I'll take it in his absence. Dave, is there an update on the ground solar panel arrays?
You can
Okay.
table it. County didn't review it yet.
So we're still waiting on the county for that, so no update. And then the last item is deck permitting. Our current code says that a building code permit is needed for any deck that is 15 inches in height from the ground. The International Building Code regulates decks starting at 30 inches. 15 inches is certainly very low, and it would make sense for these two to be consistent. And so the recommendation to the board is to change our zoning code to be consistent with the International Building Code, and that would mean that you don't need a building permit for a deck that's going to be lower or further from the ground, closer to the ground than 30 inches. I think that makes sense. And so if we're going to do that, what is our do we need to authorize Solicitor Scott to draft an ordinance? Okay, or amend the ordinance?
We have
Right.
other zoning ordinances pending right now. We can add it to, they're all too far down the path.
Okay, so I will make a motion to authorize our solicitor to draft an amendment to our ordinance to change the requirement for a building permit for decks that are 30 inches or more above the ground. Can I get a second? Any comments or questions? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0, and we are on to the manager's minute with Manager Brady.
Thank you, President McKenzie. Just a reminder, the summer meeting schedule, the next meeting will be August 10th. There is not a meeting on July 27th. And then beginning again in September, we'll be back to the normal meeting schedule. The next Cat Club event is going to be August 12th. This is going to be on Waterville Road. So we have a delay in between due to some vacations and everything, but as always, we're very thankful for the Cat Club and the hours and time that they put into cleaning up the township and the roads around it. The Foundry Church is doing its summer movie series. As I mentioned before, we're coordinating with them and helping spread the word for their movie nights. They're spreading the word for our movie nights. As a reminder, our movie night is going to be this Saturday at Hepford Park, as Commissioner Barnes mentioned. The next movie night for the Foundry Church is going to be July 29th. The next thing is the LEWAP program has resumed as of this past Monday. This is for the low income homeowners water assistance program. This also applies to sewage as well. So if you're behind on water or sewer bills, you can apply for this program, and it can help if you're in arrears for any of your bills for either of those two programs. Information is available on the website, and you can also visit the dhs.pa.gov and search for the LIHWAP program. The last thing is our bulk trash day, which was originally scheduled for July 22nd, is going to be postponed. We're still looking for a new date for that. It was going to conflict with the services for Darryl Dixon, so we're still looking for a new date for that, possibly August 5th, but we'll send out the new date once we have that. And lastly, for the staff thank yous, big thank you to our zoning officer, Maureen Fayes, for running the summer camp. She and her daughter, Brianna is our camp director. They do everything for the camp. I mean, the amount of time and effort that Maureen puts into the camp is a huge help. She makes my life significantly easier because I don't need to worry about the summer camp. And so everything runs so smoothly with Maureen and Brianna. So big thank you to Maureen for another successful summer camp. I'd also like to recognize Mike Bubba McCall, who, as you just heard, was promoted to become Public Works Director. Mike has been a huge help over the last couple of months while Darryl was out sick, and he's stepping into the role. Mike has literally and figuratively some big shoes to fill, but we know he's going to be great. He's been with the township for about 43 years, something like that, a long time. And so he knows the township inside and out. So we have every confidence in him that he's going to be very successful as our Public Works Director. And then also I'd like to give a thank you to Officer Mike Markunis. It's a little bit of a mundane thing that I think they deal with, but it was something I was working with him on regarding a trailer that was being parked and all kinds of issues with it. But I was really impressed with how Officer Markunis dealt with several of the neighbors, and was very very helpful. And his kindness showed. I mean, Markunis has a huge heart. I think everybody knows that, and that was definitely on display while he was helping there. And I highlight that just as kind of an example of the dozens of different types of situations that our police deal with on a regular basis, and how they handle it with such grace and make it seem so effortless, especially when things can be very heated and challenging, and they manage to keep their cool. So big thank you to Officer Markunis. And with that, that concludes my report. I'm sorry. Oh, yes, thank you. Thanks, Maureen. The next household hazardous waste event is scheduled for September 9th at the Emergency Training Center in Sharon Hill. The registration for that usually begins about 6 weeks in advance. So I don't believe it is open just yet, but keep an eye on that because registration is still required for that. And that completes my report.
All right, thank you. We are adjourned until August 10th.
And adjourned until September.
Huge.
Sorry about that.
I won't need it.